Matthew chapter 5, verse 13. Jesus said, "You are the salt of the earth. But if the salt has lost its taste, how shall its saltiness be restored? It is no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled under people's feet." Too much salt can be bad for you. I am told that it leads to lots of bad diseases and bad health conditions. But in the first century, it wasn't bad for you. It was something that was actually necessary in order to keep meat from going bad. Before the days of refrigeration, salt would be rubbed into meat and it would preserve it. And so Jesus is saying to us that if we are his followers, then we can have an influence. And we should have an influence. He says this at the end of a description, a long paragraph where he describes what it is like to be a follower of his, a faithful, devoted follower of Jesus Christ. And now what he's saying is, if we will do that, we will have an influence. We will be like salt. And sometimes just by our very presence, we have an influence. You may not even know it, but if you are a Christian with integrity and you walk into a group or you're part of a group, you will have an impact, an influence on that community, on what goes on, what is said. Or you might have an influence by what you say, the words you bring. You bring words that point people to God, that remind people of God's goodness, that remind people of God's mercy and his grace and the hope that he brings into our lives. And you can have an influence by the words you speak and also by your silence. When everybody else is complaining, criticizing, gossiping, and you say nothing, you can have an influence by your silence, or maybe by your kindness. You simply bring kindness into people's lives and show them practical love. But Jesus is saying to you and me, be salty. Go into our world each day ready to have an influence, ready to make an impact on the lives of others by the words we choose to say, the words we choose not to say, and by our actions. And if we will, then he can use us to have an influence in the lives of those around us. God help you and God help me to do that.